absolute power corrupts absolutely, you know, and having that power, Trump winning by this landslide and him getting his way could lead to him being a tyrant. It could be, he could become, you know, I'm not saying he is now, but he could lead into the actual fascist ideas that the left is screaming about and trying to warn the rest of the world about, you know, if he just gets his way every single time. So there needs to be a checks and balances in regards to power, but a meaningful check, an understanding of exactly, again, I think the argument needs to go down deeper into the ideas and the actual events and things that are happening, taken with, you know, scrutiny and deep respect to understanding the whole story before that kind of criticism and debate needs to take place. And I think that doesn't happen. People look at headlines, people look at exactly what drives the emotions of clicks and so forth, and people drive and then that's what drives the narratives. That's what drives exactly where these conversations and debates lead to, which only causes further division. That's all it accomplishes, you know. And just talking about the whole situation that is the Jimmy Kimmel thing, which is the perfect example right now. Literally, you know, not too long ago, Charlie Kirk is shot and killed brutally in front of the whole world, assassinated. One of the craziest,
in a vicious, disgusting manner.
Exactly. And everybody sees that. And now it's like no one even talks about it because they're just so busy talking about the whole entire Jimmy Kimmel thing. Right? Now.
That's what kind of like. Yeah,
it just and it led back to a conversation you and I had a little while back too, not too long ago after Charlie Kirk had passed, was the left's ability to control the narrative.
Yeah, it's an obsession.
And the way I feel is basically this entire Jimmy Kimmel thing, it's not really an outrage against the idea of losing freedom of speech and so forth and people are being censored. I think it's really just a PR stunt designed by very intelligent and AI based or whatever else to really drive the narrative elsewhere. Because when Charlie Kirk got shot, it was like, oh shit. It was like Democrats were deep in the hole. They're like, damn, we better just shut the fuck up. We can't say shit right now.
Again, after the killing in Minneapolis, where someone who identified as trans killed kids. So
the whole Trump almost assassination attempts, and now Charlie Kirk shot dead. Like, okay, we maybe we need to tone down our rhetoric, you know, and we need to put out a statement to say we basically disavow any kind of political violence and so forth there. We need to make ourselves appear that way. But they knew that they were in the shit.
Yeah.
And then they came out with this entire thing the following week that Jimmy Kimmel made a grotesque, very idiotic joke about the entire Charlie Kirk thing in the midst of all the pain and the suffering and the process of seeing Charlie Kirk and knowing that he passed away. He throws that joke out there on air, on his show.
Not on his personal platform.
Yep.
Not on a personal podcast. No.
Yep.
That was going to be programmed on public airways, network television.
That millions of people are watching, and just to be that insensitive to kind of throw that out there as a joke or whatever. I'm not saying that he needs to be canceled for something like that. Okay, he's a shit person. He says those bad things and so forth. But then there was like this issue with the FCC, you know, having certain rules that are in place in regards to spreading false information or incorrect information intentionally with the knowing that it was false information. And there was different things that were in place. And I know, and again, I'm not all about the government intervening about what comedians do on late night television and so forth there at all. But the outrage around it, the reason I know that it was a PR stunt is because the amount of people who have jumped on board on spreading this information as if this was the issue of our times now, you know, like literally Charlie Kirk just was shot dead regarding the idea of free speech. You kill a man, but yet Jimmy Kimmel is the headliner now because his show was canceled. Yeah, he's the victim.
Out of a tyrannical move from the government, which was pressure from Trump to FCC to ABC to Trump, the line of pressure command. And from their perspective, from the perspective of the left, it actually makes a lot of sense. Like it does contextually. There's even things leading up to this. This didn't happen in a vacuum. In their minds, they're connecting the dots. They saw that Trump, if he had his way, he would have canceled Jimmy Kimmel a long time ago. They've had their feuds. A perfect opportunity to, you know, strike my fist down and influence my power and remove him. So, and it looks like that. So now government control has the tyrannical power to shape the narrative, and that's encroachment on free speech. And taken in and of itself, yeah, that's like that's not okay in this sort of society, in a free democratic society. It looks like a fascist tyrant. That's what it looks like on the surface. That's the optics.
Yep.
And a lot of that, there's truth to that.
Yep.
But what could very well be true is that ABC was following the pattern of other companies that have also done the same to do damage control, to say, fuck, Jimmy, like, you're putting us in a bind here.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they too were also disgusted by just the words themselves and didn't want to associate with it.
Yeah.
That could be a very real possibility.
Even if they weren't, then where is the outrage towards ABC's accountability over this entire situation if they're fighting for the idea of freedom of speech? And what I mean by that is ABC championed this guy for decades. You know, he was on late night, talk show forever. And the thing that I challenge is these people have been making fun of Trump since the beginning of Trump's presidency. Every single night, they built their careers on that. They joke about him all the time. If this was a power move from a centralized government, they would have been canceled years ago. And the thing is the irony of it is that late night television and whoever is left, we're talking about the Jon Stewarts, the
Jimmy Fallon,
Samantha Bee, even Bill Maher himself. They're using this exact same issue that's going on right now that happened to Jimmy Kimmel as a way to criticize Trump, but they're not being canceled. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like this
constant perpetuation of a narrative.
It's a selective outrage. That's all it is. And they use that and they blast it everywhere on all channels. It's literally all I see now, like constantly. And every single person, including celebrities, have now stepped in, like the usual suspects of like Mark Ruffalo and so forth. They've made, public statements about this, about how dangerous and wrong this is and so forth. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely believe in the freedom of speech, and I absolutely believe that cancel culture is bullshit, that even through bad language needs to be addressed and ignored or shunned publicly in the idea of civil discourse to prove things wrong. It shouldn't be censored. And I believe that wholeheartedly, but to take this tiny little scenario to make it the elephant in the room now, it's
contrived.
It's really contrived.
It's forced. It's part of the calculated messaging. It's part of the attention grabbing, the attention vacuum of there's an economy of attention. Let's take it all in. And exactly. The response, I believe, on the left would be you'd be a fool to not take this seriously. This is a very serious thing when a government impedes on free speech and can influence. And so, and that's trademark of fascism, to control narratives and things like that. So that's the selective outrage of what you're saying. And I just think about, like, some people have compared a lot of the social unrest to George Floyd being killed by Derek Chauvin. But I just imagine like a Fox News anchor during that time, just a day or a few days after George Floyd was killed, and there's a social unrest. And, Fox News guy jokingly says, those BLM Black Lives Matters folks trying to win something for their party, trying to paint Derek Chauvin as somebody. Really, he's not that. And trying to spin the narrative like so lightly about the tragedy of what happened. To our point earlier, you'd hope that no matter what side or tribe you're on, there's a common denominator, whether you call it truth or human decency and respect and honor and awareness of priorities and situations. Yes, encroachment of free speech is bad, but I won't be up in arms about it until I am 100% convinced that is this overreach of power. It could be very, very well, in which I believe it very well could be both, and that there was some FCC influence that said, hey man, we need to do some remedial review of what's going on. And then later, but is it correlative or is it causation? The whole idea of it just correlated, or is there a real direct cause? I'm not convinced of the direct causation because, like you said, Trump would have canceled Jimmy Kimmel a long time ago if he had that power or whatever. The words themselves are what people should be disturbed by.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel's words. And again, you have to look at things in context. During a time of such social unrest right now, you're going to pour gasoline on the fire to say that this person, Tyler Robinson, was actually not have anything to do with the left. They're trying to make it look.
MAGA was hiding him.
It's painfully obvious that there's no evidence to support that.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about the human decency and the toxicity of the situation. Sometimes perhaps should supersede whether or not there's a real encroachment of the First Amendment here. Because encroachment of the First Amendment is important.
Yeah.
But how is humanity, in a certain regard of people, not seeing how disgusting that is? Jimmy also said, man, Trump, this is not how an adult grieves a friend. This is how a 4-year-old grieves their dead goldfish. And if that doesn't reverberate with you and make you feel like that's the most disgusting shit I've ever heard, if that doesn't make you feel disgusted, then there's something fucking wrong with a lot of these folks then.
Yeah.
And I think there's not necessarily wrong that they're immoral. They're just so fucking out of touch.
Yeah.
They don't see the poisonous words that are driving this divide in families and households. They're probably just in their world with their properly socialized folk of their ilk, and looking at each other and thinking about the narratives that look right. And it looks so fascist-like for Trump to impose and cancel these people. This is not a democracy because it not only fits a narrative, it looks good. And have you not seen the disturbing nature of the words, though? And I get it. Like, I don't know where Jimmy's at in his mindset, Jimmy Kimmel or whatever, what the fuck led you to that. But it's kind of disgusting. Yeah. I promise you, no one would have batted an eye if someone was fired over making jokes about Derek Chauvin, George Floyd during that era, and someone, what if someone belittled George Floyd like, well, George Floyd's just another black guy in North Side Minneapolis, where we used to live. He's just another black guy in North Minneapolis, and Black Lives Matter is painting him like he's a martyr or whatever. That guy would have been canceled instantly. No one would have said shit. And so that's my problem. Now, I don't believe in that. I think it's a tragedy. I think Derek Chauvin, what the fuck, he was culpable with a lot of shit. And George Floyd wasn't wasn't this leader of a movement. He is a guy, a black guy in our community who's trying to make it and maybe has made bad choices in his life, but also made some other good choices to mentor people in his community. That's who he was. But if someone tried to shit on it, they would be canceled instantly. And that's the double standard and the obsession control of the narrative that has driven me sometimes crazy to try to root out truth behind some claims.
Yeah.